Hello, friends. It is June 1st, 2020, and this is our last chapter of Ken Schoolin's book, The Adventures of Jonathan Gullible, a free market odyssey. Chapter 40, Terra Libertas. How a person masters his fate is more important than what his fate is. Karl Wilhelm von Humboldt. A slight headwind blew steadily across Jonathan's face. Time stretched into hours, and the rhythmic motion of the condor's flight made Jonathan drowsy. He dreamed that he was running down a narrow street, chased by the shadowy figures of guards and their unleashed dogs. "Stop, you scalawag! You newcomer!" they shouted. Terror gripped him as he desperately pumped his legs harder and harder. One figure loomed out in front of the others. Lady Tweed. He heard her breathing down his neck as she lunged with fat fingers to grab him. A sharp bump woke Jonathan with a start. "What?" murmured Jonathan, still clutching the handfuls of the bird's thick feathers. They had landed on a beach that looked familiar. The bard issued instructions. "Follow this beach along the shoreline. Continue a mile or so north, and you'll find your bearings." Thick clumps of salt grass waved gently over long golden sand dunes. The ocean looked gray and cold where it lapped the shore. He climbed gingerly off the back of the bird. Suddenly, Jonathan realized where he was. "I'm home!" he shouted with joy. He started to run up the sandy slopes of the beach, then halted and turned again to the condor. "But you said you were taking me to a place where things are done right," said Jonathan. "I have," said the bard. "That's not the way it is here," argued Jonathan. "Not yet, maybe, but it will be when you make it so. Anywhere, even Corumpo, can be a paradise when the inhabitants are truly free." "Corumpo?" gasped Jonathan. "Most believe they're free enough. Lady Tweed told them as much, and the rest are afraid of freedom. So eager are they to give themselves to the grand inquirer." "Mere words," said the bard. "The test of freedom comes with action." Jonathan felt very young. He pulled a reed from the ground and started poking the sand thoughtfully. "What should things be like? I've seen many problems, but what are the solutions?" The condor let Jonathan's question hover between them while preening his feathers. When the feathers lay clean and smooth, the condor looked out to sea, saying, "You're looking for a vision of the future?" "I suppose so," said Jonathan. "That's a problem. Rulers always have a vision and force others into it. Remember, rulers have no right to do anything that you have no right to do on your own. If you shouldn't do it, you shouldn't ask others to do it for you." "But isn't a vision good for knowing where you're headed?" "For yourself, but not to impose on others." The bard turned to face Jonathan again, his talons clenching and digging the sand. "In a free land, you place confidence in virtue and discovery. Thousands of creatures seeking their own goals, each striving, will create a far better world than you can possibly imagine for them. Look to the means first. Noble ends will follow. Free people find unexpected solutions, and those who are not free find unexpected problems." Despairingly, Jonathan groaned, "But no one will listen to me." "Whether others listen or not, you gain strength by speaking and acting. Those who listen will take courage from you." The condor turned towards the sea, readying to leave. Jonathan yelled, "Wait! Will I see my friends again?" "When you have prepared your paradise, I'll bring her to see it." Jonathan watched the great bird gather himself and launch his huge body into the wind. Moments later, He disappeared among the clouds. Jonathan began walking. He did not remember much about that walk except the steady crunch of sand beneath his feet and the gusts of wind on his body. Jonathan recognized a rocky channel that marked the entrance to his village. Soon he was nearing a house and store at the harbor's edge, his home. Jonathan's lean and sad-faced father stood coiling rope on the front porch. His eyes widened when he saw his son coming up the path. "John," cried his father. "John, boy, where have you been?" His voice breaking, he shouted to his wife, who was busy cleaning inside. "Rita, look! John's back." "What's all the rumpus about?" asked Jonathan's mother, looking a little more careworn than he remembered. She came out on the porch and screamed with delight at the sight of her son. Instantly, she gathered Jonathan into her arms and hugged him a long time. Then, pushing him back and looking over at arm's length, she brushed her sleeve across her eyes to stop a flood of joyful tears. "Just where have you been, young man? Are you hungry?" Then she said to her husband excitedly, "Stoke the fire, Hubert, and put on the kettle." They shared a festive reunion, and Jonathan recounted his adventures, occasionally making rough drawings to describe what had transpired. His parents smiled and shook their heads in a mixture of disbelief and happiness. After he had eaten one last slice of his mother's warm pie, he sighed and sat back in his chair. The old store and their living quarters in the back room glowed in the light of the fireplace. "Son, you seem older," said his father. He looked hard at Jonathan and added jokingly, "Are you sailing again soon?" "No, Dad," said Jonathan. "I'm here to stay. There's plenty of work to do." And that is the end of our story. We've got plenty of work to do right now. I feel like this story has paralleled so much more than I ever could have imagined. The things that are going on in our world and the best solutions for the problems that we're having in our world. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will come back tomorrow just to kind of wrap things up. There is an epilogue in the book that I'd like to read and share with you, and some other information. So I'll be reposting these videos so that everybody can see them. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And I'll just leave you with this, and I think it's the best advice that anybody could ever give in a world that's not perfect, or one that has troubles like ours does right now. Be the change. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Be that change. God bless you. Good night.